Hey! So, we are going to be building on our forms lesson that we did yesterday, and we are going to be now learning how to stack them. That's why I have this lovely creation right here. We're going to practice learning how to stack our forms so that they look real. So, in your next page or somewhere, you're going to first start making sure that you have enough room here. You're going to start with the base, which is obviously a cube sort of situation, but more rectangle. So I'm going to start by making my rectangle. You can see I'm drawing really lightly because I don't know if that's exactly where I want to go. Then I'm going to make it go back in space. So you can see this is going back this way. Looking at this, it's going to go back this way. I think for you guys, making sure they're parallel lines. If they're not, it's going to look wonky. This edge goes up to this wall, so that's going to end like that. This edge goes up to this wall, so that's going to end like that. So I've got my first Kleenex box here, and I could add some details in that I see, like this. Does that sort of situation, and sometimes you can see other details on the Kleenex box, right? Okay, so one mistake a lot of kids tend to make, and you're not going to draw this, you're just going to watch, is my next object they would draw just right on top here, like that, just sitting right on top of the edge there. And so what this does is it makes it look like it's floating because they're not actually interacting with each other, they're just sitting on that weird edge. So instead, I need to overlap. So make sure you write overlap. This is placing one thing over another. Okay, so make sure you write that. You're going to overlap. So if I'm thinking about this cup is actually sitting on the top, this side right here. So I'm going to draw the base of this cup sitting inside of this shape right here. So this is about what it looks like that. And now I can draw the rest of my object. This is like a cone that's been cut down, or you could say it's a cylinder, but the sides are going inward. So I'm just going to make my cup right there, like that, and just drew it in, just sketched it in. Then I'm going to remove anything that I can't see. So I actually can't see any of this back stuff back there, so I'm going to erase it out of there. And now it looks like it's just sitting on there. Yeah, so erase what I can't see. Okay, so my next object is a cylinder. So I'm going to overlap this a little bit, and this is the base of my cylinder. That looks a little wide. Like that. Then I'm going to draw the rest of my cylinder like that, and I'm going to erase what I don't see anymore. So now that looks like it's just sitting right on top of that cup. And you can also add some of the details, like this cup has some lines that go through, and this Campbell soup, let's see, looks like on this side. Make sure you use curved lines, not straight lines, to make that look real. Any details in there, I can add. Okay, so my next thing is my glue stick here, and it's obviously towards the left. So I'm going to draw it going on this left side. So my base is going to overlap on the top here, and I'm going to draw my oval to start this. And then I'm going to draw my cylinder like so, and I'm going to erase what I can't see. So now that's standing on that edge over here. It's no longer it's not centered, so I got to make sure I'm drawing what I actually see. And then the last thing is my tennis ball, and it's going to just be a sphere on the top, making sure I overlap. Wow, I feel like I'm usually a lot better at drawing spheres than that, but all right, so there's then my tennis ball on the top, and I can add the details that I see. Okay, now that I've got this sketched, I now know how to stack forms, but I have to take into account that there is also value. So if I add value to this, depending on where the light source is, that changes a few things. If my light source is here, you can see the cast shadow really cool right here. And you can also see a cast shadow over here. All this side of the object is going to be a lot lighter, and all this side of the object is going to be darker, right? And that changes depending on where the light source is coming from. All those different values look different. Okay, so we're going to say that our light source is over here. So I'm going to draw my sun. And I'm going to add value, or I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, okay, actually, this is where my lightest light is going to be. This is where my lightest light is going to be. This edge of that can, this edge of my cup, and then remember with cubes, I'm just going to shade one dark, one medium, and one light. So this one's going to be the where I start with because it's the easiest. This is going to be the lightest light, so I'm not going to add any value to it. I would say this is the furthest away, so this is going to be my darkest dark. So I'm going to add value to that, the darkest version. And I lost some of my details, so I'm just going to go back and bring them back in. Like that, okay? And then this is going to be my medium tone. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of value there. Making sure I take my time. If it looks scratchy, it won't look real. Okay, so now I've got this shaded correctly. Now I'm going to move up. So remember when we shade cylinders, we did dark to light to dark again. So this is going to be my darkest back here. And it's going to follow that curve and fade to light and then go back to dark. Not very much dark over here, but some. That's what's going to make it look rounded. If I lose that light, I want to go back in and put it back in because that's really what's going to make it look 3D. Okay, and once again, put those details back in if you need to, if you lost them. Okay, same with the cylinder, dark to light. If I lost some of the details, bring them back in. And that's looking rounded. Same with this one. Dark to light. Didn't actually give any details on this glue stick. So if I wanted to, I could. And then last but not least, my sphere. So dark where it's further away, making sure I'm following that curve. And then gradually fading to my lightest lights. If I get too dark, bring it back in. Okay, so now that I've addressed all the shading on the actual object, now I need to go back in and add my cast shadows. So if my light were coming from there, my cast shadow from here, following this, go straight down, like so, darkest next to the object, and then fade it out. Like that. And then my cast shadow for my box would go straight down, out, darkest next to my object, and then fade it out. Now, this object isn't just a rectangle here, so I have to make sure that I'm also including the stuff up here. So that's going to be kind of more like that. And if I lose any of my notes in the process, I can go back over it. But trying to get this to smoothly transition from dark to light. Okay, so now that I have learned how to do this, how to stack an image, how to shade it correctly all together, now you're going to flip the page and you're going to start trying to do this on your own. So up here, I'm going to make a little section and I'm going to write what cha ma call it's. I call them whatchamacallits because they're actually nothing. Like, there's really nothing that I am making here. It's whatever I want it to be. So, here's my whatchamacallits. I'm going to divide this in half, divide it in half again, and divide it in half again, and each one of these is going to be a stacked version of something of at least 5 forms. So I'll probably have to keep referring back to this, but I have one over here, so I'm just going to put it on the side so you can kind of see it. There you go. So I don't have to keep flipping back and forth, but you might have to. Okay, so I'm going to start with something. I don't care which form. I'm just going to start with one. So I'm going to start with probably a cylinder. So I'm going to start with my cylinder. You don't want to do this. I want you to make your own whatchamacallits. This is just kind of running you through what I want you to do. Okay, so now that I've got my cylinder made, I need to stack something else onto it. I don't care what you pick. You can pick whatever you want to. So I'm actually going to stack a cube onto here. So I'm going to start with my square. This goes back to the edge. And then anything I don't see goes away. So now I have a cube stacked onto that one. Let's see, I think I'll have a cone on top of that. So I'm going to have my cone be that size. And then I erase anything I don't see. So I've got 3 things stacked on. You are going to have 5, at least 5 things. So you could keep going, inventing things that are interesting, but not necessarily like real. There's really nothing I'm drawing here. Next level, you're going to learn how to shade them. So thinking about a light source and how that works for your object. Okay, Enjoy!